This is another episode of the Mind, Body and Pipeline podcast. Sam Winsbury joins me today. I'm really excited to share his journey. He's had a really big setback recently in his fitness and endeavors. Sam and I have known each other for about 4.5 years. I was his first client at his personal branding agency, Kurogo. We've stayed in touch, recommended business to each other, and both been keen supporters of what the other is doing. We're fairly competitive on Strava, although he's certainly been able to clock up some kilometers at distances or at speeds that I previously haven't been able to. So there's definitely an inspirational element to what he's doing for me. But he's again got an amazing story of why he focuses on his health and fitness. And we're going to dive into those powerful insights and how he feels that prioritizing his health is key to his business success. So let's jump in. Sam, thanks again for coming on. And we've known each other for quite a few years, and we've obviously been chatting about your
years. No.
Yeah, I think it's more than that, if I'm honest.
4 years. It was around this time in 2020 that we first met.
Yeah, I know. Time absolutely flies. And obviously kept in touch, know about your business and the fitness journey. For people not so familiar with you, can you give a little intro into what you do, your business, and then obviously I'd love to hear how your focus on health and fitness has impacted the way that you approach work.
Yeah, so I run an agency called Kurogo. We help founders and CEOs become thought leaders in their industry by building their personal brand. So we typically work with leaders within a business. We'll create a positioning strategy for them personally, not actually the company brand, but them personally within the business. We'll help them amplify that, get it across to their target audience through social media, through PR, through getting them on podcasts, and then we actually help them basically monetize that presence as well. So yeah, launched that officially in 2021. Was doing little bits with yourself, for example, in 2020 as a freelancer. Before that, we launched officially in 2021. And yeah, grown fairly quickly over the last year. We worked over 200 clients now, team of 17. So it's been pretty quick growth. And yeah, as you said, health and fitness has always been a part of my life. I've always played sport. I think since I could walk, the day I was walking, I was kicking a football. So sport has always been a big part of my life. I've always been into sport and naturally keeping fit and healthy because of that. Loads of business lessons as well I've taken from team sports into business. And to be honest, I think as a business owner, like especially in the early days, right, the performance of your business is so reliant on your performance personally. Yeah. So actually one of the best things you can do as a business owner is put yourself in the best possible position to perform at your peak. And I think, keeping fit, keeping healthy, training outside of the work is a huge part of that.
Yeah, no, well, I completely agree. It's been game changing for me in terms of clarity of thought and everything that I've done with the business, scaling down the consultancy, coming up with the new service and everything. It wouldn't have happened without my dedicated focus on it all. Yeah. Was there a specific moment where you decided to prioritize it? Obviously, you've always been into the sport, but when the business really started to kick in, it's the common excuse, isn't it, of I'm too busy. You and I are very fortunate we don't have kids, so we've got to say that. We're not very fortunate we don't have kids.
No, we're very fortunate.
Depending on how you look at it, but from a time perspective, do you see what I mean? Yeah. When the business was absolutely rocking and rolling and you're working with me, working with like 100 other people because it's just you and you're juggling all that. But was there a specific moment, maybe when the team came in, when you got a little bit settled? Don't let me put the words in your mouth, but a specific moment where
it was actually in the early days, to be fair, when it was just me. Like when I launched it, obviously I launched it straight out of uni. Like most uni students, I wasn't all over my health at uni, obviously. I wasn't bad, to be fair. I ate fairly well, but obviously there's like the partying side of it, and you don't really have the budget to like fund this sort of thing. So I was active at uni. I wasn't unhealthy by any means. But yeah, as soon as when I graduated, I launched the business, and it was just me. That was really the time where I went all in on it, because I realized like my week was so dependent on my productivity, my focus. I was also at the same, I just moved to a new city. So I'd moved from where I grew up, went to uni in Birmingham, then moved to Oxford, which is where I kind of launched the business. I didn't really know anyone there. And I was so focused on building the business and playing football. So I moved to play football, thought I was going to go to a half decent level at the time. Obviously didn't. But at the same time, I was like, because of that and the business alongside, I was like, my performance is so important. I had a couple of other friends like building businesses that were quite interesting as well. So I got into that like whole biohacking world,
Yeah.
like wearing blue light blocking glasses, like not having any blue light like an hour before bed.
Nice.
Started intermittent fasting at that time. I think that's when I stopped drinking for a long time. I think I now do the first 6 months of pretty much every year without touching a drop of alcohol. I know you're completely off it as well. And that started for me in Oxford, which was like game changer. Just life was so different. And I actually put a big part of the progress the business made in those first 6-12 months down to all of that.
Nice.
It was just so dialed in and focused on work and football, basically.
Nice. You spoke earlier about, the goal setting and taking a lot from the team sports into the business. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, businesses like teams are like high performance teams, like a sports team would be, right? And there's loads of principles that I think I learned just naturally through playing team games that basically like structure the way I run the business now. I kind of view the business almost a little bit like a sports team. So even things just like how you communicate, how you set common goals, how you react to things. If you can liken, for example, conceding a goal in football, conceding a try in rugby to losing a client, for example. Like it's a setback, but are you going to moan and have a go at all your teammates about it and get grumpy? Or are you going to go, right, it's happened now. What's the next move? How do we get one back? And sure, there's a time where one member in the team maybe is letting you down and you have to have that honest conversation with them because otherwise the rest of the team suffers. All of these things, there's so many like things that are just exactly the same as they are in sport and in business.
Nice. I love that. The routine that you've got on a weekly basis to juggle the business, the social life and fitness, what is that routine? And go into as much detail as you want across physical stuff. Obviously, I know you can talk about a little bit. You've obviously, broken your leg recently a few months ago, but what was the routine or what will it be when you get back to it?
It's like the common like challenge for business owners is like business, relationships, health, isn't it? Like it's so hard to balance that. Especially when I went to Oxford and I launched the business, I knew one person there, which was my partner. I didn't have any friends there. All my mates were still at uni. So that actually, in a weird way, was perfect because I didn't have a huge social life at the time. But actually, that's exactly what I needed. When you're launching a business and you're trying to stay fit and healthy, to get off the ground initially, you do have to sacrifice a little bit. And I kind of had that naturally taken away for me, which worked really well. That was one of my best years ever. I loved it, which seems a strange thing to say, but no, it was great. And then more recently, I've found a way of managing it. I'm not the kind of guy that wants to be out every night. I have a very small, close group of friends. I like it that way. They're actually pretty aligned. They're all off doing marathons and high roxes as well. So we all get that we all want to train. We all want to keep healthy. So just being quite intentional about the kinds of people you spend time around is really, really important. Obviously, as you said, did the leg, so broke my leg broke 2 bones, one in 2 places in August of this year. So that's obviously been a bit of a setback to health and fitness. Was out of the gym for probably 8-9 weeks, been back in for a few. So that kind of threw a huge spanner in the works. And at that point I couldn't socialize, I couldn't work out, couldn't do anything. It was all work. Getting back into it now and finding a good balance between most day-to-day, like weekdays, it's work and gym focused. Weekends is a bit more time for seeing friends and family and whatnot. So I try and split it that way and use my weekends for a bit more of like the personal relationships, switching off from work a little bit. I still work on the weekends, I work every day.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with working on weekends, to be honest. I think working is a form of de-stress.
Yeah.
Particularly if, my wife likes having a lie-in on a Saturday.
Oh, Saturday morning. So I'm convinced I do more on a Saturday morning than most people do in a week. Like it's
incredible. I know. The friends that you spoke about, small, close group friends into something similar. Yeah. I think I want to chat about that and expand on that a little bit. Lots of people's fear of taking their health and fitness seriously, stopping drinking, is that all their friends don't. I personally, when I stopped drinking, set the business up, there was a lot of people that fell by the wayside, but therefore they weren't really proper friends, Those close group of friends, are they people that you've naturally been drawn to in the last, say, 5 years since the business has happened? Or are they guys that you knew at uni that you picked really well that have sort of continued on with you, and then some of the other ones, the party ones and stuff, have just sort of fallen away? How's that friendship dynamic sort of changed as you've taken this so seriously and been so structured with it?
Yeah, so I'd say my closest group I've actually known since school and uni.
Cool.
Together, and we all live in similar areas now. So they've actually been, I guess I got lucky to some extent, or picked the right friends, and that we've dressed in the same sorts of things. A few friends outside of that I've only known recently as well, and they're into it, maybe less so, but like it's not been like me prioritizing health and the business, and that has not really like been a problem with that friend group whatsoever. And then of course you got the friends where, you know, I'll see them for a beer every now and then. You're not going to be the closest mates. You're not going to talk every week, but you can catch up every now and then if I'm not drinking, but they are. It's not really been a problem. So I get the fear a lot of people have, but I actually don't think people are as judgmental nowadays as they would have been 10 years ago. And if, as you said, they're probably not people you want in your life anyway.
No, I agree. No, it was an easy sort of step away from those guys for me. Everybody's got different goals. In my opinion, you need them, and they can directly transfer to business and all that type of thing. Talk about goals a little bit. Goals with the business, short-term, medium-term, long-term, presumably. The targets that you've got to hit.
Yeah.
Subjective sometimes or objective. Do you have the same in the fitness side of things? Getting your 5K time down, hitting a marathon, doing a high rocks, or all that type of stuff. Have you got?
Get an older brother that is equally into fitness. Yeah. He'll text you saying just run a marathon, and that motivates you. He's a great runner, to be fair. I'm slightly stronger. He's definitely a better runner. So little competitions like that are always fun. I find having something to work towards as well. I think for everyone, it's going to be tough to stick to a gym schedule if there's nothing to working towards. Book a marathon, book a high rocks, book a half, book a 10K, like park run, 10K at the weekend.
Yeah.
You book it. It doesn't have to be a huge thing right at the start, but then you have something to work towards.
Yeah.
So there's a bit more of an external motivation as well. And that then once you achieve it, you start getting the internal stuff where you just want to beat the time for the sake of it. You want to book the next one. You get the bug, right? I had that with the half marathon in May. That was the first competitive race done, and you just get the bug from it.
I know.
Again, and then you're looking at shaving 30 seconds off your 5K time. You're looking at upping the weights in the gym. You're looking at all these little things, which is quite addictive actually.
No, it is. And that buzz, I got it when I went to my first high rocks in January. I'd never done a 10K race, so my first 10Ks and things, my running came after that, because I realized doing a high rocks, it's basically a running race with obstacles. I just thought I might be able to power through, but I couldn't. But that atmosphere at high rocks, and that atmosphere that you get the half marathons, whether it's with run through, with the big group warm up sessions or anything, it's just incredible and addictive, isn't it? And I agree with you. Book something and then go and train for it. Yeah. I think that's a goal. That's something that you have to do. And there's other bits of advice, isn't there? Just go in and get a base fitness and see what you like and what you understand. But you definitely a book first and then work out how you're going to get there or how you're going to do it. So
it gives you a date, gives you a target, something to work backwards from, right? And it's not like it's UVU at the end of the day. Right? Yeah. There's hundreds of thousands of people running the race, but it's not. I think a lot of people are like, oh, but I'll come towards the back, or when they're just getting into it. It doesn't really matter. It's just, for me, it's about, firstly, say you're going to do something difficult and do it. Gives you a lot of confidence in other areas of your life. Yes. If you can be the guy or girl that says you're going to run the race and runs it, or when you're struggling, gets the extra rep in. When you then come to work, your mind kind of goes, and you want to do the extra. You don't want to do the extra hour, but you need to. Yeah. You might put the extra hour in because you've got that confidence that you've done it in the gym, you've done it in other areas of your life. It builds this really confident self-identity, I think.
Yeah, I know we've had some other guests on here, one that we spoke about before who does an awful lot of running, and Claire was talking about that every single race that she goes into, she knows she's going to have really, really tough times. She knows she's going to have to grind it out, but then she talks to herself and says that I've been here before. And she's been able to transfer that into business. So when that client leaves or that staff member hands their notice in, or there's a challenge with a staff member or a challenge with the client, I've been here before. I know what it feels like, and I know how I'm going to be able to grind it out. And she says that it's a direct switch. It's almost the same part of the brain that goes.
Yeah. I guess I don't know the actual neuroscience behind it, but I imagine it's probably the same neural pathways activating in both scenarios, just different context.
No, I agree. Talk about a little bit about your routine, because it's very personal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a morning person. Some people aren't.
Yeah, I'm morning as well.
Yeah, gym every morning, couple of.
No, actually, I don't gym in the morning. I'm a morning person in terms of like I like to get up and get ahead of the day and get work done.
Yeah.
I think we're probably the same. Like you're a tinkerer, like tinkering with your routine all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
But yeah. So I've done that over the years, and I've tried loads of different things, tried lots of routines, and now I'm at a pretty good state, and I tinker certain things. So morning, don't have a big morning routine. Wake up, shower straight away, knock back a big glass of water. I drink AG1.
Do you?
Yeah.
Come on,
I'm not sponsored. Yeah, I drink my AG, and that's like pretty much all the supplements I need.
Can I just ask a question on that? Is it good? Because I've heard obviously Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman.
Yeah, a lot of people say different things about it. I've been drinking pretty much 2 years. I've been ill once.
I know I don't get ill. No. I'm very lucky, but I do vitamin minerals. I do green.
There's another supplement coming out very soon that a friend of mine is launching that is like AG1 but better. So when that's out, I'll put you onto it, because it's literally like lab tested, just the most elite supplement. It's taken him 4 years to create it because it's so elite. I like the idea of I wake up, I shower and have a glass of water, and then I've got pretty much all of the nutrition I need for the day in a bottle that I can just sip throughout the day. And it's just so convenient to have it in one. I don't have like an extensive morning meditation, walk routine, any of this. I've tried that previously. To be honest, it's just more stuff to do, and I found it harder to do all of that stuff. I prefer to just get straight into work. The only other thing is don't drink caffeine for the first 90 minutes.
Yeah, no, I listened to Huberman on that. I think I've got to about half an hour.
What, before you need it?
Yeah, I think so, because I think he's an hour, isn't he? I think he says don't.
Yeah, some people say 60, some people say 90 minutes. So I don't do that. And then I don't eat. I tend not to eat typically until at least 10 a.m. I try and do 16-8 split of eating and fasting. So ideally I get to kind of 11, 12-ish before I eat. And then I'll have the first meal. So yeah, that morning though is get the supplements I need in me, get to my desk and get ahead and work. And I'll typically wake up around 6-ish. I'll be working at my desk by 5:30, and by 9 o'clock I'm ahead of the day. I feel like I'm in control of things. When everyone else is logging on, I've already done enough for the day.
I know.
So the rest of it is just a bonus.
I know. And when do you fit the training in? You lunchtime? Do you get, because you're up early and you get that burst, and then everybody comes into your life, don't they, socially and work-wise, from like 8:30 till 12:30?
Yeah.
Do you get a bit of a dip in the afternoon, hit the gym after some food, or do you hit the gym sort of at the end of the day, 6, 7, 8 o'clock?
I used to get a massive dip around like 2-3 p.m. every day.
Yeah, I've had that.
But then when I stopped eating breakfast and reduced carb intake, I actually found that was better.
Yeah.
Still have a bit of a dip around 4, because like obviously you're up early, but it's nowhere near as bad. And I used to train around that time. Now I try and train early afternoon. It obviously varies if the schedule gets thrown off by like, emergencies or whatever. It's not always consistent, but typically I try and train around 12, 1-ish. I saw this concept was a guy that basically split his day in two. So he had like Monday 1, which is morning, Monday 2, which is evening, with a break in the middle. And his version was a bit extreme. He was like, I fit 2 work days into a day. It was like a little bit extreme, but I was like, actually, I like that concept of a Monday 1, Monday 2. So now what I'll do is I'll do the deep work in the morning from 9 till 11, 12-ish, as many calls, like try and do all the calls that I have, all of the like outward communication, then hit the gym around 12-ish to break up the day. By this time, I've already done 6 hours of work-ish, 12:30, 6 hours of work. Back at the desk for 2:33 and work through till 7, you've done another 4.5-ish hours. So that like split in the day and then getting back to work where I don't really have to speak to people, I can work on my own projects. That's worked really well for me recently and you just get so much more done that way. It almost is like having 2 work days.
Yeah. No, I like that. I do like that. We were working with a business whose founder didn't take any meetings in the morning. That's like the opposite of you.
Yeah.
And it's how different people work in different ways, right?
That's the thing with all of this, right? Like everyone has their rules, but you almost have to test to find out what works for you.
Yeah.
For me, the thought of having meetings at like 5, 6 o'clock in the evening is I struggle to focus for the rest of the day. If I've got a big gap and then a meeting, it's like,
yeah, I know, me too. If there's too much of a gap, it's because you've got that to-do list alongside. I'm not organized enough to segment that down into 5-minute tasks, an hour tasks, and I'm not organized enough to do that. Food.
Yeah.
We spoke about my little hack, which is essentially just using a nutritious company, sticking stuff in the microwave and not having to think about it, which I've shared with a few clients and they absolutely love it. Some people meal prep, big batch cooking on a Sunday. I just don't have time for that. I just don't have time for it. I understand it, but I don't have time for it. And the other thing is I couldn't eat chicken, rice, and broccoli, for example, single day. I just couldn't. No wonder people fall off the bandwagon. I just couldn't. I quite like having, Hunter's barbecue chicken pasta 1 minute, and then naked chicken burger the next day, and then like a prawn massaman curry the next day. And that's why it gives me options, but at the same time sort of limits the choice. How do you do food? What is it for you?
Well, I quite like cooking, so actually,
do you find it cathartic?
Yeah,
music.
If I've got loads on, I do find it stressful, but like Friday, Saturday night, I love to just spend time cooking a meal. It's quite nice to decompress. That's a family thing, runs in the family a little bit.
Yeah.
So I cook a fair bit. Obviously you've got to be pretty practical throughout the week. So there's some, again, I don't want to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli 5 days a week, but there's a certain amount of if you're cooking your dinner, make an extra 2 portions that you can eat throughout the week. Certain little things like that just help. Because the other thing is you don't want to spend, if you're having to take 45 minutes out your day at lunch and dinner every day to make food, suddenly that's 45 minutes that you're not working, not spending time with family and friends, and not in the gym.
Yeah.
Which I realized this. I was like, I love cooking, but I don't love cooking more than I love working the gym or spending time with my girlfriend or my mates.
Yeah, exactly.
It was one thing that had to get dropped a little bit. So try and keep it as efficient as possible. Whole food where possible. I think there's this idea of entirely whole food diet is really difficult for most people. I think if you're hitting 80-ish% or more whole foods without refined shit in it, then you're probably on the money. That's probably enough. So yeah, just try and pick whole foods, try and limit refined sugar, really basic things, to be honest, but actually go a long way, make a world of difference to your energy levels.
And living in London, you're surrounded by places like that. Depending if you're in the right area, but do you go down to the supermarket to pick it up purposely? Do you go to a big supermarket and just pick the right things off the shelves, or do you order in online?
Bit of a mix.
Yeah.
Don't tend to order too much online. Normally like to be in the shop.
Yeah, you like to touch up the cloth. That's something else we've stopped. We get our food delivered. Yeah, we stopped that ages ago. Just going around the supermarket, just again, probably knowing myself really well, I just would make bad choices. You always end up in the supermarket when you're hungry.
Yeah. See, there's loads of studies on that. If you go actual psychological studies where if you go with a list or without a list, you'll spend more and buy more unhealthy things if you go without a list.
I bet.
You're more likely to buy crap. That's another big thing for me, which is if there's food in the house, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
I know personally that if there's 3 packets of biscuits or something in the house, I'll eat half a packet in a day.
I know.
I just don't buy them. I can go 3 weeks without touching one.
Yeah, same. I know, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Somebody buys a big box of wine gums or something, he's getting eaten, but I never buy that for myself.
Yeah, literally. For me, it's distance yourself from the bad food as much as possible. Just don't, if it's in the cupboards, I'll eat it. So don't put it in the cupboards, basically. I think it's far easier to say no to a packet of biscuits in the shop than it is when they're in your cupboard and you've already bought them.
I completely agree. You've had some setbacks.
Yeah.
Obviously a big one recently, which was, we'll talk about, it could be a good talking point actually, because we spoke about it briefly on WhatsApp because that was playing football. Let me get this out in the right way. You've had a setback. So the wider question is, other setbacks that you've had, whether it just be work's got in the way, you've gone on holiday or whatever. How did you get back on track? So smaller setbacks. But this one, playing football, it's injured you. It stopped you walking, stopped you running, which you were getting really into, probably stopped you doing another half marathon, probably maybe even stopped you doing high rocks or something like that to really testing yourself. Does it put you off? Getting injured again, put you off playing football? I know that'll be difficult for you. I know we spoke about it on WhatsApp, but
Yeah, a lot went through my mind. So I guess for context, people listening, playing football, 18th minute of the first pre-season game, break 2 bones in my leg. It was about the 18th minute. Broke 2 bones in my leg. Surgery, titanium rods put through my knee and down in the middle of my bone. In hospital for a week. Didn't walk without crutches for 7-8 weeks. Pretty rough. I would not recommend. One of the worst experiences I've had. And to be honest with you, everything went through my mind between it actually happening and me getting to the hospital. I'd already done every thought you can imagine. I'd already done. Am I going to play again? Am I going to walk again? Yes, I'm definitely going to get back. This is going to be fine. Don't know if I want to play. Definitely want to get back to playing. Literally everything. I can't go on the retreat. Half marathon in May. Am I going to be able to do it? Like all of these things. Did all of it before I even got to hospital. It was crazy. And now I'm kind of, I'll go back. Like I'll definitely get back into running. I can't wait to get back to running. I will go back to football. I think I kind of rationalized that it was a freak accident. I've played football for 25 years, I guess. This has happened once, probably played thousands of games and it's happened once. I've never seen anyone do anything similar. Like it was a freak accident. And I'll definitely go back. Actually, one of the guys on the pitch, this was really cool. One of the guys on the pitch on my team said to me as I was being taken to hospital off the pitch, he was like, the first goal you get back when you're back will be worth it. And that kind of stuck in my mind of like, yeah, there's all the fear, but imagine the feeling just getting back, playing with your mates again, scoring a goal, which is one of the best feelings in the world for me. Like that is kind of the motivation now. So yeah, I'll go back. I'm not completely put off, I don't think.
Nice.
Miss doesn't want me going back, but
no, because I mean, look, my cousin, he's big into his football. We were going to do high rocks in Birmingham together. He gave me a call a few months before and just said, "Look, man, I'm loving my running. I'm loving my football. I need to do myself justice. Need to do you justice. I just don't want to get into the gym and do any." He used to be big into his weights, but I don't want to get in the gym and do the weight-based conditioning stuff that I will have to do for high rocks. I'm enjoying being lighter and all this type of stuff. And then he injured himself. Yeah. So he's a bit older than me. So but he likes playing and he can still compete with the guys in their early 20s. He's still at that level. He's really, really fit, but he's hurt himself. And he said to me, similar to what you said, I love it so much that I don't want to say I'm not going to go back and play at that level, but it is starting to just count up the injuries. He's hurt himself like you did, but it's the niggles that are now starting, you know what I mean? He's in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
Niggles.
They were bad as well. Like probably last 5 years I've always had ankle injuries and I fell out in love with it actually. That's why I kind of stopped pursuing it as like, I was never going to I don't want to make out that I was going pro, but I was playing a half decent level, could have had a half decent like semi-pro career potentially, but I fell out in love with it. Maybe I wasn't good enough, also had the injuries. I just fell out in love with it. And then I started playing with my mates again and just had the love back.
Yeah.
But yeah, the niggles are the difficult ones actually.
I know. And running, you get niggles as well. I think everybody needs to know that. Since I've been running properly, I had to stop, but I was running for about 3.5 months. I had to stop because I had a little bit of something in my meniscus. I think it was my running style, so I've gone back to try and change that myself. If you have a look at my Strava, I have sort of like new running style. My hamstrings and my calves are torn up, which is just exactly, I was planting my foot in the wrong way, never even using those muscles to run, which other people do, but nobody teaches you how to run. But it's got to be the most dangerous sport in the world. Everybody I know gets injured. I think there's some stats that 80% of people in their first year get injured. And then out of the second year, not a different 80%, but 80% get injured again. So you could have quite a serious injury, and by injury it keeps you out for more than 8 weeks. I think people need to understand that as well, don't they? Is that as part of the athlete's journey, isn't it? I guess getting injured, starting something, putting some volume behind it, loving it, and brings us back round to sort of setbacks, wider setbacks that you've had outside of the big leg break. They will have happened.
Yeah.
Work will have got in the way.
Yeah.
You go on holiday for 3 weeks, and when did they happen? What were they, if you can remember? And then how did you get back on track? Because I think some people fall off track, don't they? And think, well, I'll just go back next week, or I'll do this.
Yeah, for me, there's two normal things that get in the way of health, which is busy period in the business, where you just like when you're launching a company, it happens, right? And you don't go to the gym for 2 weeks because you're just in the weeds, just trying to solve problems. And the other is actually traveling. I've found it really hard previously to maintain all of my good habits, maintain fitness whilst traveling, whether that's for work or personal. Just like going on holiday, when I'm out of my day-to-day environment, out of my own home, I actually find it really difficult to eat well and to keep training. I make worse decisions. Often when you come back from a week away, you almost feel like you've lost a month of progress.
I know. And which unfortunately you possibly have as well. Like a week away sets you back 2 or 3 weeks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, which doesn't bode well when you've been out 12 weeks. I think you just got to when you get back, you can't expect to be lifting the same weights that you were previously. Come to terms with that, but you'll also get back to the level quicker. I don't think it will take you the same amount of time to get back to where you were, if that makes sense. I think you pick it back up a little bit faster if you get back into that consistent habit of eating well, going to the gym, etc.
Yeah.
So it's the basics, to be fair.
And having learned from some of those traveling experiences, personal and work, give you a bit more context, working with a founder at the moment, and he's traveling all the time for business. But he now, and he's done this for like a decade, he now picks hotels based on the gyms that they've got and the food that they serve. He's been a founder for a while. He's not penny pinching on stuff. He's not looking at cost so much, so he's got that advantage. But is that something that you look for, or do you just say, I'm traveling this week, it's going to be one of those weeks? Or
I do the latter, but now I'm going to take that hack.
That's what he does. So if he's in Liverpool and he goes to the same place, and at the moment, and because I'm working with him quite a lot, he's in Liverpool, and I see on his Strava he's in the gym at like ridiculous o'clock, early morning. But he's found a hotel he likes that he sleeps well in, and then when he does that, he picks the same hotel all the time, because then you get that like familiarity with it all, so that helps you sleep and all those types of things. But if he goes away and he's not been there for a while, he spends quite a lot of time, or he gets somebody to spend some time for him, researching where's the local restaurants, what food do they eat, what does the hotel serve, what's the hotel gym like, and that's definitely something, like I said, definitely something I pick up. But that allows him to never drop off his routine. And he used to love Airbnb, and I do. I think it's great. But what he found, which is obvious when you think about it, is he used to fall off his routine. This is like 8 years ago, whenever Airbnb first kicked off. He used to fall off his routine because no apartment that you have as like a couple has a gym.
Yeah.
So now he said, I miss the Airbnb bit. I miss the flexibility of being able to cook by myself and watch the TV on a few nights and stuff like that. But he said, I know how good for my mental health me working out is.
Yeah.
So I have to choose hotels.
Yeah.
He's made those choices,
Yeah.
And when you know something's really good for you, to stay on track, you've got to do your pre-research. It's a bit like, being good at sales. You do pre-research beforehand. It's keeping on track with anything. You do pre-research beforehand, right?
Yeah. And again, it's removing friction to good habits, right? If your gym is in the basement of the building or in the same building, so much more likely to go. If you're on holiday and you're in a different country or different city, and you've got to research a gym, buy a day pass, go to another unfamiliar environment that maybe you've not done before, it's not going to happen, right? It's so many more barriers to doing it.
Yeah, my mate's based in Edinburgh. He's just started joining a run club, and last week there was a guy from South Africa there who's traveling the world. He researched run clubs in Edinburgh whilst he was there, because he knew that he had to get out and about, because he was obviously but he was trying to balance that out wherever he went. So he was joining run clubs, saying hi to people, having a beer with them afterwards, but getting that exercise in. My mate was like, does this happen often? Because he's like new to running. I was like, I've got no idea, but that guy seems just like he's doing it for a real purpose. Yeah, it's a similar thing, right?
Yeah, that's class. Don't skimp on this stuff. Like, it's health outside of like rent. It's probably my biggest expense each month.
Somebody asked me the other day, I've made some changes to this a little bit recently, but it's, we've got the mortgage and we've got mine and Emma's like as a fixed cost, consistent. It's easily the second biggest payment.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody, and I used this quote quite a few times recently, particularly with friends and family, you will never regret spending a penny on your health. It's like when I went to the Gary Brecker and did all the tests, the methylation tests and everything. Now we supplement based on like basically, broken gene structure within our stomachs, which everybody starts talking about as like your second brain. Yeah. And they've now done loads of research, haven't they, about how it affects everything from mental health through to how sick that you can get, common colds that you can catch, if you've got arthritis, everything that you put in your body is linked. But and I said to people, £600 each, and people are like, and I'm like, but it's literally changed Emma's life.
Yeah.
She was told she was lactose intolerant. She wasn't. So she was being physically sick, and £600 is nothing. She's been physically sick as she got a bit older. Like every time she had a bit of cheese or something like that, I've been with her. We've eaten pizza and she's gone to the toilet in the restaurant. And forget the cheese thing. It's everything else that it's done. She's got like a racing mind at night.
Yeah.
The first 4 years of our relationship, sometimes I'd wake up and wonder whether Emma had a good night's sleep, because she'd just be like, at night, that's gone. It's gone. Long-winded story of you'll never regret, I don't think, spending a penny, a pound, hundreds of pounds on your health.
There's that quote, isn't there? It's something like, you've always got loads of problems until you've got a health problem, then you have one problem.
Somebody said to me, you pay a lot to go to a gym, because gyms, they're not cheap. They used to be quite cheap. They're not anymore. You pay a lot for these supplements, but you pay an awful lot in hospital bills.
Yeah.
An awful lot, or wait a lot of time and a lot of pain for certain things.
The other big thing for me is I'm 25 now, right? For the next at least 30 years, I'll be running businesses. For me, it's like, if I can be 40 with the physical condition of a 25, 30-year-old, I'm going to be outperforming everyone. If I can be 55, 60 with a 40-year-old's body, I'm still going to be performing at my peak at work. I'm going to be able to earn way more than I've spent on gym fees back if I'm performing at my peak for the next 30 years. Whereas most people, or people that aren't conscious of their health, performance is going to deteriorate as they age. They're going to get to 55 and perform like a 65-year-old.
Yeah.
I want to be 55 operating like a 30-year-old. That for me is the long-term thing.
I completely agree. I had a quote that a few people have sort of pinched off me since, is, why are you doing this? And I said, because when I get older, I want to be hard to kill.
Nice.
Literally. And being fit, having, a good VO2 max, having strong grip strength, loads of other things are scientifically proven to make you less penetrable to disease when you get older.
That's unreal, isn't it?
It's incredible, absolutely incredible. Even the way that the sacs in your lungs change, they change shape when your VO2 max goes up. That means that things like bronchitis and stuff can't get in if they're that shape. It's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers. Last couple of questions.
Yeah, far away.
Fitness, communities, via friends, any link to business opportunity that you've seen, that you can see, that you've had?
Loads. One of my best mates I train with all the time also runs his own business. We're in the gym just spitballing ideas off each other. We intro each other to people. We'll probably launch a business together very soon. And it's also a talking point for other people. I see people in the gym, you get talking to them, they run their own businesses. Most of the entrepreneurial people I know in London all train at a select few gyms, very similar gyms. And it's very natural conversation starter when you both know you have a common interest, just the introductions you can get.
I know that common interest is amazing. I want to just before the final question, just stay on that point of that launch a business with that guy. Guess your friend got that.
Yeah.
Would you agree that, and I did a post about it recently, I was chatting to Joe Testori about it, and he talked about the trust level when you see somebody leave it all on the floor.
Yeah.
There's no, and I did a post about football teams. I don't think there is any greater trust level than seeing somebody push themselves mentally and physically, which directly correlates to business, getting into business with somebody, being consistent, all that type of thing, right? You agree?
100%. When you've been blitzed and spin together, then business seems slightly easier.
Yeah, I know, but the trust element as well.
Yeah, for sure. I played. We went to uni together as well. He was older, so we didn't play in the same football team, but we trained against each other, watched each other a lot. The guy's a bit of a dog, like on the pitch, and seeing that like dog behavior on the pitch is kind of like, yeah, like that is someone I'd want to do business with. Like it's a fighter, right? You want that like fighter.
Wise, oh wisey.
He wouldn't like you calling him Dennis Wise.
Pass it on. I'll get into business with Dennis Wise. Final one then. So business leaders thinking about prioritizing their health, but don't know where to start. What's the one bit of advice that you would offer them to get them going?
Do you know what? This is not something we've actually spoken about, but I'd
Really?
say sleep. If you get your sleep right, you'll be more productive in work. You're more likely to stick to good habits because you have better decision making, more energy for the gym, more likely to eat better food. Like all of the other tenets of health, I think all stem from a good night's sleep.
But they go full circle, right? Because if you expel a load of energy, eat better food, not too close. I think there's probably some science on this, but if you eat closer to bedtime, snack, you're digesting and all that type of stuff. But it's the same thing, isn't it? So fixing your sleep, however you go about that, that's a great piece of advice, 100%. But it also comes hand in hand, doesn't it, with the other bits?
Yeah, for sure. I think it starts with sleep. I think it's probably the easiest one for people as well. Like most people think their 5 or 6 hours is enough.
Yeah.
Trust me, do 8 and just see how you feel.
I know. Thank you.
Pleasure, mate. Thank you.